It's good to welcome you to this episode of NAFDAC and Your Health. This is a program where you get to know about NAFDAC's efforts at ensuring that only wholesome food products, drugs, water, cosmetics, and chemicals are made available to the Nigerian public. I am Opejemi Urimolade. The effort of NAFDAC at controlling narcotics is a focus on this episode of NAFDAC and Your Health. The episode will be featuring highlights of the recently held stakeholders meeting with the local manufacturers of Tramadol on how the proliferation of the drug, its abuse, how its illegal importation can be checked, as well as how in-country manufacture of Tramadol can be put in its right form. The seeming haphazard distribution of Tramadol, which has occasioned the proliferation of our society with the drug, calls for concern. This is why NAFDAC, through its Directorate of Narcotics and Controlled Substances, held a stakeholders meeting with the local manufacturers of Tramadol to discuss the distribution processes, its illegal abuse, and its illegal importation, with a view to putting things in order. In her speech, the NAFDAC Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, passionately spoke about how her administration has battled with the illegal importation and abuse of Tramadol since the inception and the purpose of the meeting.
We have about 30 manufacturers and maybe 10 times of that as importers. And we have over 103 metric tons of finished products that are imported into the country. 20% are manufactured in Nigeria. There is no magic to the manufacturing of tablets or capsules in Nigeria. It is not an advanced manufacturing, which means any of our local manufacturers can manufacture Tramadol. I assumed duty on November 30, 2017, and September 2018 I got an intelligence from the presidency that 31 containers of Tramadol are coming Nigeria way. By that time, our children were running mad. Mothers were using Tramadol and codeine, especially in the north. But in the south, the abuse is even more in Lagos. And I went back to the presidency contact that sent me the email. I said, "This must be a joke, sir." He said, "No. NAFDAC should go after the 31 containers of Tramadol." Tramadol was being rained on us, and Professor Adebayo was the director of IPID, Ports Inspection, at that point. And I said, has somebody targeted Nigeria to destroy it? And that is the question that I'm bringing to us 7 years after. Is our business about destroying Nigeria? The 31 containers had market authorization holders. They were not dropped by magic from India. Before that time, India didn't have very strong position on Tramadol control. They were trying to redo their regulation, and it was September 2018 that was the deadline before the new regulation would take effect. So, unscrupulous manufacturers, those who do not wish Nigeria good, that wish us evil, that do not care about our children or their future, decided to rain Tramadol on Nigeria. That was the height also of suicide bombing. But bear in mind, NAFDAC an agency that was supposed to control manufacture, importation, exportation, distribution, advertisement, sale and use. That agency was removed from the ports from 2011 to 2018, May 16. So everybody in the world said, take it to Nigeria. Anything we go in. There's no more gate man there. And what did we get? We get banditry, suicide bombers. So my first 6 months, I was running after Tramadol. And Tramadol is one item out of thousands of drugs that we deal with. So our Port Inspection Directorate started a vigil. They brought us back to the ports, May 16, 2018. This message, intelligence, came September. So we were already at the ports. Keeping vigil, not sleeping. We were able to apprehend 24 containers, I believe, at the beginning. And the merchants of death knew that our port was hot, or it had become hot. So, one container went back to Benin Republic. And we talked to our ambassador, sir, please, let's see who is going to claim this. Another 4 turned back on the sea, and we were watching them as they were turning back. Went to Ghana, and Ghana said, where were you supposed to go? Nigeria. Is this Nigeria? Go back. They went to Benin Republic. So we had 5 containers of Tramadol. I learned that an agent can get up to 1 billion naira for one container. NAFDAC's stoppage of the Tramadol in Benin went to court. They said, we need to take it to Nigeria. It was going to Nigeria because they think it will disappear in Nigeria without us touching it. But Benin Republic reasoned out, and they said no. These containers came to their country illegally, therefore they're going to destroy. So December 2022, 4 years after, we had the first joint international destruction of medicines or narcotics in the case of Tramadol. There was one container that was mislabeled, so it was actually 30 that we found, and they cost more than 3 trillion naira. 3 trillion naira to destroy Nigeria. So when we are doing what we are doing, please reason with us. It is all about us. Some people do not want Nigeria to ever be prosperous. They do not want Nigeria to ever be part of the Committee of Nations. And that is partly due to abuse of narcotics. There was a case of somebody, a thief, that went to somewhere but was already high on Tramadol and died there because of overdose. So you are not just handling drugs, you are handling drugs that can kill, that can destroy a nation, that can destroy the future of our children, the future Chinua Achebe, the future Wole Soyinka, that will never attain to their potentials. That is the drug you are handling. About 2 years ago, somebody called me again from the presidency and said, NAFDAC, you may be part of the problem. I said, part of what problem? Of tramadol abuse. Why? I asked. He said as he was talking to me, there's a truckload of tramadol in somebody's private driveway, garage, that will end up in Onitsha. That time we didn't have track and trace. That was what led to our track and trace. Because what we were doing was to say, yes, you brought in 10 kilos or whatever kilos. That's it. We weren't following up the distribution. That was what led to the track and trace of tramadol. It is easier to destroy than to build. Whatever we are seeing now, we did it to ourselves as a country. Because they removed NAFDAC from the ports for 7 years. And Pharmacy Council of Nigeria also had the negative impact on their own regulation, because unscrupulous practitioners, patent medicine dealers, open drug marketers took them to court between 10 and 14 years, depending, and they couldn't do much. So if you are going on a bad road or you have banditry, you see banditry, kidnapping, you can ask yourself, what is my role? We stopped issuing license for manufacturing of importation of tramadol this year. We did enforcement in February, and we got 14 truckloads of tramadol, 14 40-foot truckloads of tramadol that did not come through us registration. So this is not just drug, it is drug that is making Nigeria insecure. That was why NSA gave us 1,350 forces to accompany us in our enforcement and raid in February, March, and April of this year. It is a national security issue. If 20% of tramadol that is in the country, only 20% is manufactured locally, we are going to change the paradigm. We're going to decrease significantly importation of tramadol, significantly. And we're going to increase the capacity of our local manufacturer. That is why this meeting is extremely important. Unlike other medical products or medicines, the market authorization holders of tramadol or manufacturers of tramadol have a high responsibility, and of course, to whom much is given, much is demanded. It may be judgment, it may be accountability. It depends on what is being demanded.
You have been watching NAFDAC in your health. The program continues shortly. Thanks for staying tuned. You're still watching NAFDAC in your health. Earlier, in her opening address, the Director of Narcotics and Controlled Substances, Mrs. Yedoni Adenuga, spoke on how the various directorates of NAFDAC discharge relentless duties geared towards the control of narcotics and, in particular, tramadol.
While Narcotics and Controlled Substances issue permits for the importation of controlled substances, and for your own case, the API, other directorates play important roles. The Drug R&R, they issue market authorization. DER oversees GMP processes. Then the laboratory services also make pronouncements on the quality, safety, and efficacy of all the final products. So other activities of the agency with regards to your operations include post-market surveillance, post-inspection, and enforcement. So you all must understand that all these happen in a continuum and not as individual activities. And I expect you to know what you are manufacturing, that Tramadol is a weak opioid that may be used to treat moderate to moderately severe chronic pain in adults. Currently, Tramadol is under national control, and that is why NAFDAC issues permits for the importation of both the API and finished products. Unfortunately, Tramadol has become an issue of national interest due to its abuse, diversion, illegal importation of unapproved products containing doses higher than those approved for use in the country. So this has brought Tramadol under scrutiny by other government agencies.
Speaking further, Mrs. Adenuga enumerated the strategies put in place by NAFDAC in controlling narcotics.
We introduced traceability of pharmaceutical products, which incorporates the inclusion of the 2D barcode data matrix to the labels and the global location numbers for all the premises whereby these products may be tracked. Then e-clearance systems that have incorporated permits to clear services. Then a more robust and transparent feedback reporting system to enable NCS Directorate monitor the distribution of Tramadol. And now we have incorporated desk reviews. So a digital format will soon be introduced. Then we also carry out verification exercises. And then there are now stricter requirements for the registration of Tramadol containing products. So emphasis on in-country manufacturing of pharmaceutical products is the thrust of the present administration of the country. This will ensure medicine security, quality, access, availability, and affordability. But presently, the in-country manufacture of Tramadol constitutes like 19.5% of the total permits in the country. But then, this data, it doesn't account for diversions, even though we have a big gap between importation and in-country manufacture. But then the gap does not address diversions, it does not address non-medical use and the abuse of Tramadol. So we want to address that gap holistically in the interest of the country.
The Director of Drug Registration and Regulatory Affairs, pharmacist Uche Sonny Afokelu, on her part, addressed the need for the manufacturers about the need to conduct mock recall to validate their distribution chain.
You have to conduct a mock recall. Now, the reason for this is to validate your distribution chain. I'm speaking directly to Nikia, who asked the question. By now, any manufacturer should have a well-established distribution chain. You're expected to have done a mock recall, which is a validation of that distribution chain. So you're expected at this time to already know where your products will move to, and if there is need to recall such, you know exactly where to start and where to end. For such a recall, it's always advisable to start with the worst case scenario. So you know who your distributors are, you grade them, you put them according to risk in terms of who is the best among equals here. You don't use that distributor to do the mock recall. You use the one that, let me use the term, jaga one, to do your recall. So if you don't have this chain, it will be difficult where an issue arises. So it's important in terms of knowing your distribution and outlets, you must have done a mock.
Mr. Kayode Amuda, the Director of Drug Evaluation and Research, spoke about the importance of the local manufacturing industry and the necessity of adhering to good manufacturing practices.
What 5+5 has done for local manufacturer in this country I don't think it can be quantified. So, and that is why the DG is trying to let you know that importation, see, our interest is not on Tramadol. If possible, there can be a decision that we stop it completely. We stop looking, heaven did not fall. You see, we don't want to jeopardize production of essential medicine for Tramadol. If you really understand what DG was trying to say, it is not that it's a value for you people too to continue to produce my Tramadol like water at the expense of. That is why DG said, what they are going to give you, I mean the narcotics, is going to be very, very regulated. So that you don't use that. I know, see, requests already on ground. They pay in advance for Tramadol. Why are they not paying in advance for other essential medicine? You should ask yourself.
Reacting, the stakeholders expressed some of the challenges they face in the manufacturing and distribution of Tramadol. They also commended the NAFDAC DG's efforts in developing the local drug manufacturing industry.
I have started to beg the DG because, you can see, when I did my PhD, one of the things I learned in content analysis, when people talk, the number of times, even though my hearing is not the best, but the much I was able to hear from her speech, based on content analysis, is the passion, the willingness, the determination to create a good playing field for the local manufacturers to grow. I don't have to go anywhere to look at that except just listening to her talk.
I also appreciate DG for the good work you have done. Initially, it was very painful when we started hearing about shit that come up, but now we are getting truth. What you have done in Nigeria pharmaceutical industry is what we have done. For us, our factory is set towards contract manufacturing. And today we have close to 20 companies that are registered with us. Currently, we are producing for almost 8 companies here in Nigeria. I want to encourage you, keep pushing, keep doing what you are doing. And I see before your term, Nigeria will definitely come to next performance.
Amen.
Just commend you and thank you for what you are doing.
The comments of the stakeholders elicited a reassurance from the NAFDAC DG.
It's a continuous improvement. Nobody has arrived. But the minimum compliance must be met because of the health of the user. We are the largest country in Africa. There are about 600 companies in the whole of Africa. We have about 200. We have potentials. So, sir, please don't give up. If you are low risk, medium risk, we will handhold you. We are handholding the high risk too. But sometimes it is money, get HVAC, it's tough. But those that are low, medium risk, we want to see their products out. So there are a lot of opportunities for our manufacturers, local manufacturers.
We have come to the end of this episode of the program. We will be back again, same time, same station next week. Meanwhile, if you have comments, complaints, reports, and observations that could expose the clandestine activities of peddlers of unwholesome, fake, expired, and unapproved food products, drugs, water, cosmetics, and chemicals, please reach out to us.
You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded.
As we have always said, it is criminal to import, produce, advertise, distribute, or sell unwholesome food products, fake or expired drugs, adulterated cosmetics. Stay away from these acts and join in the efforts to fight against them. Till next week when we shall come your way again, stay safe.